Today we'll be looking at a fairly new rifle. It's actually a privilege to have it here. I went up in the mountains and took it apart because I thought that's probably the best way to show you what's what. And there haven't been that many interesting actions. People are inventing stuff and sending me pictures all the time, and keep going with that. Anyway, this is quite an achievement. I was chatting with Mike Drury. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. He founded this company. He's an engineer. And also I was chatting with a fellow by the name of Brecken. I mentioned him, you might know him. He's a sports writer and a gun writer. Anyway, they generously supplied this rifle for testing. And I thought this is probably worth going over in detail. So we'll be shooting it in a moment. As you all know, there aren't that many kind of revolutionary things to do with a rifle. I remember looking at, what was it called? The Mousing Field. I think that Griffin and Howe uses that action. Quite interesting, but again, nothing earth-shattering. This rifle has some interesting features. It's definitely very well made, actually exceptionally well made. But I guess Mike, being an engineer, also set out not only to make a very lightweight rifle, but a rifle made out of probably the most modern and in some ways difficult to work with materials which usually enhance accuracy and longevity of the rifle. So I'll read you what it says on the action in case you're interested. It says Alpine RifleCraft Limited, Canada. It doesn't say where in Canada or what province, but I'm pretty sure Western Canada. And Zenith 30 STR. And in the studio, I'll tell you what STR stands for. Lyndon, Washington. So we've got kind of a, I would say, borderless rifle, but most hunters and shooters and people who love freedom are without borders. I think that's fair to say. So let's take a look at this action. It has some interesting flats. I'm not sure what we'll pick up, but if you feel frustrated, we'll go over it to some extent in the studio. It's just with daylight, it's so nice filming. If you see me swatting, it's because there's some kind of like mosquito hatch. It was, we were gonna maybe not shoot. Anyway, beautifully machined. Dimensions are excellent. One of the things that not everyone knows is that the length here is crucial because you can use cartridges such as 308, 243, 708. I think I checked on their website and they offer all those except for 243 for some reason. But you can see bullets way out if the action, the magazine well is long enough, and this is a 3-inch magazine well. Since I have it in hand, this rifle, which is kind of a prototype, Mike was telling me that it'll have a different recoil pad, maybe smaller, I can't remember, I think so. It doesn't matter, this one's pretty good. Sort of a custom touch on the sling swivels, which aren't really swivels. Anyway, it's made by Wildcat Stocks. And in case you're watching, I ordered a stock from you maybe 10 years ago. Long time, maybe 12. What an excellent stock. And nothing's changed at Wildcat. You can see there's some epoxy here, which is kind of a tip-off that it's maybe not a production model, although epoxy is often used in production rifles. And this apparently is like a well for, can't remember what Mike was saying, maybe a bipod. You remove it with a rare earth magnet. I didn't do anything with it, but I thought I'd show you the stock. So this, you can probably tell by the way the person handles a stock, is an exceptionally lightweight stock, which is what you want in an Alpine rifle. And I forgot to mention, and we won't even try to film it, it's just too obscure, but they've got an excellent trademark, which is kind of a bighorn sheep full curl, which was the inspiration for Mike's effort. He could comfortably lounge, I'm sure, as an engineer, but decided to take on this, I would call it extremely challenging project. I only say that because I also went into a few gun manufacturing things. What a competitive and difficult market. Anyhow, getting back to the action. So we've got a titanium action. I'll give you the numbers for the metallurgist, or we'll put it up on Patreon or something. We've got a control round feed action. You can see the claw extractor. It was very interesting. I'll turn this toward you. You probably won't see it, but it has a feature that some people say, Mike, you must, be confused. A cone breach is a great feature. It's true, the head of the cartridge isn't as fully supported, but I mean, mainly when you have a bolt action rifle or any rifle, what are you mainly concerned with? Feeding, like the next round should go in the chamber. No bullet hitting the flat surface at the back of the chamber or the front of the chamber, depending on how you think. This one has a cone breach, just like a pre-64 Model 70. The barrel, this you may think is a Proof Research barrel or some other maker, but it's actually made in Chilliwack, and I'll give you the name of the company that makes these. This is a 6.5 Creedmoor, and the twist, which is a nice thing to put, I think, on the barrel. Maybe that's common, I could be behind the times. 1 in 7.5 inches. So one bullet rotation for you that write me in every 7.5 inches. That's a pretty tight twist. That means you could probably stabilize pretty heavy bullet. And not that the 6.5 Creedmoor has aggressive recoil, but it does have some recoil. And so there's this creative muzzle brake, which some of you write me absolutely detest muzzle brakes. It's fastened on there pretty securely. You can see everything kind of can be removed with the right wrench. And same with the bolt handle. So let's take a look at the bolt handle. It's quite interesting. I immediately wanted to see whether the bolt handle was integral with the bolt body, because that's the ideal. Also, take a look at this bolt shroud. That's beautifully made, and this might remind you of a Winchester Model 70. Anyway, I was just studying it so you can take a look at the bolt handle. It's kind of hollow, and I think I know what this manufacturing method is, but this is a big clue. I can look into it again. And then there's a collar. And then if you look closely, the camera may or may not pick this up, but there's a little junction here. So I'm assuming that the whole works twists off, or maybe it's just the bolt knob. I think Mike told me, but I probably forgot. Anyway, the whole rig is extraordinary quality. If you're wondering about these dovetails, I thought this was smart. This is the same as a Tikka. And they were even good enough to supply, Brecken did, this scope. I don't know whose scope it is. Interesting scope. One learns Conquest V4. Just unbelievably bright scope. I was just looking up the slope there, and I thought made in Germany, but no, I didn't know that Zeiss makes scopes in Japan, or at least did for a time. Not that it makes any difference. These factories are basically all to the same quality control, but maybe the market thinks there's a difference. Just as a footnote, one time I was with my brother in Penang, Malaysia, just going through the jungle getting papayas, and we just in the middle of nowhere come across like an Intel plant making chips. It was really surreal. Anyway, that factory turns out, I'm sure, world-class products too from the jungle. So that was the scope. The bolt release is back here. You can see everything was designed for weight reduction, so that's easy to understand. And the bolt itself, excuse me, is notably slick, especially for a control round feed rifle, because no matter what you do, you have to get past, you have to deal with this claw extractor. And that is not sort of conducive to a slick action, but apparently the bolt is nitrided. That often results in a fantastic kind of interface between the different metals. And the titanium has a really interesting technical spec sheet. I looked it up. So there's definitely like best possible action. And then the trigger, you can see is Trigger Tech. And Mike went out of the way to explain to me that this is not a Remington trigger on purpose, because the housing for fastening to the action is lighter on the Kimber. I hope I have that right. So this is kind of a Kimber setup. And in fact, Mike probably won't like this, but the whole action reminded me, and I'm sure anyone who handles it, in dimensions, which really isn't fair, but it's not the same as a Kimber, but it kind of gives you a little bit of that idea. And by the way, this is not an inexpensive rig. This is for the ultra serious Alpine Hunter. I don't think they're going to turn out many of these each year. Oh, and I forgot to say this Wildcat stock. If I didn't say it's excellent, it's absolutely excellent. You can kind of tell with the stock just by, after you've had a few rifles, you know what I mean. Yeah, this is a great stock. Wildcat did a good job. It's strong, it's light, it's just what a rifle like this needs. Although I did say to Mike, we'll have to work out something, because I would get one of these. I probably wouldn't need this barrel. I'd get a regular barrel or a stainless barrel. I believe that's available now. And I would get a nice walnut stock. This has that classic bolt handle. Not quite an Oberndorf, but something like that. Anyway, I think I covered everything. If I forgot something, please contact me, and you can reach me real quick on Patreon, or you can Gmail me. I try to get to everything or everybody. Oh, the recoil lug's good. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be giant, but it's integral. It's not one of those ones that's in the stock, if you know what I mean. So that's quite good. So altogether, I would have to say, as I told you on the phone, Mike, congratulations. It takes a brave man to undertake something like this. No doubt you have, other people involved, so hats off to everybody. And I hope this works for you. This is definitely up there in terms of rifle quality. And these flats give it kind of an interesting aspect. And yeah, I really don't mind anything about this rifle. Quite unique, and we'll discuss this manufacturing technique. And of course the trigger, this Trigger Tech company. I mean, I'm probably a cave and fire type guy, but that's a crisp trigger. So what I'll do is I'll assemble this rifle, and then we set up the usual metal gong at 100 yards, and we'll shoot some paper. Although, I don't know, this shooting paper thing is becoming quite academic, because the barrel technology was sort of solved some time ago. But that's all right, people still like it, and I like it too, so we'll shoot some paper. Okay, well, I will break there and assemble a rifle, put the scope on, and then we'll take some shots. Okay, here we go. Okay, that was a 5-shot group. That's the Alpine RifleCraft Zenith 30 STR. Hope I had that all correct. You'll see some pretty remarkable accuracy from this rifle, but maybe that's what one can expect from this kind of quality. People ask me everything, so I'm shooting 6.5 Creedmoor Hornady, as you can see, 129 grain SST, and I tape the boxes together just because I do so much shooting, so I sort of keep track of the brass and such. They're not sold this way. I'm just going to load 3 rounds, and I'm resting on this foam. People ask me, like I said, about absolutely everything. So I just picked that up at a thrift store, and the lady said it was either for yoga or yogurt. and it was a thrift store, so it's probably yoga, but I could be wrong. Anyway, it's excellent foam, perfect for shooting. So very slick feeding. So people will say, you don't have to take the rifle down to work the bolt, and of course that's true. But I just happen to do it this way. I can definitely say the muzzle brake reduces recoil to just about 0. If you do see a jump, it's minimal. Do I love muzzle brakes? I don't know, I haven't decided yet. I don't really have problems with no muzzle brake, and you do get that concussion. So we'll shoot a few more times. And extraction, ejection, you can see it, it's effortless. So what you kind of have to imagine is that you're hunting, right? So that's 100 yards. And you only have a split second to shoot a lot of the time, especially at 100. We could probably find a place around here, maybe not, where I would get 200, just because it's so lush in the mountains. But getting back to my first point, as opposed to shooting paper, that would probably be your big game ticket filled for the year. So there you have it. We'll talk more, but let's check the heating of the barrel. They say it's less with these carbon shrouds, the fiber barrel. Yeah, it's not really hot, but it's warm. And the scope stayed put, the dovetail is good, the stock is perfect. You know, if it's this kind of rig that you want, especially if you only wanted one rifle, and this would be your Alpine rifle, well, this is Alpine RifleCraft, so it's a good coincidence. Anyway, thanks for watching, at least this segment, and we'll go into more detail on the main channel and Patreon. Thanks again.